Hi guys, welcome back to my channel Lush Foliage. In today's video, we are going to be talking about an extremely beautiful flowering plant called as the jasmine. Now there are a lot of varieties in jasmine. There is one that tends to grow like a bush. There is one that tends to climb or is a winding one, but this one is a short climber. Basically, it will not climb onto anything. It only tends to grow vertically like a short climber. Now, if you're going to use a rope or if you're going to use a pole, it will not attach itself. You will have to tie it onto something. Unlike the morning glory or the blue cluster vine, they tend to attach themselves onto a pole. This does not attach itself, but it just starts to grow vertically. So what I have done over here is I've gone ahead and tied the plant around because I live on the terrace and it is very, very windy. The branches can easily break off with a strong wind because the branches or the stem is very, very thin. So as you can see, this is how I have tied it, and slowly the plant will start to grow onto it. But again, as I said, it is not going to attach itself. You'll have to tie it. It only tends to grow vertically. Now the plant is very bushy, but I have gone ahead and kind of made it compact so that the branches do not go haywire. Otherwise they can easily break off with the wind. Because it's very, very windy in my place, a lot of my plants, especially my heliconas, they tend to break because of the strong wind. So I have to be extremely careful. So ideally this is a very easy to grow plant. The growing period of this plant is during the summers. Winters it tends to go into dormancy. So let's start off with the soil mix. They prefer acidic soil, which is organic rich. So which means that it would require a little bit more feeding and watering, especially during the summer season. The soil mix I tend to use the same, which is a mix of coco peat, garden soil, sand and perlite. They prefer a well-draining, organic, rich soil. Do not let the soil stay soggy wet, otherwise the plant can get root rot easily. Now guys, there was something else also I wanted to mention. I'm not very sure why, but I had read about this. I will put up the screenshot on the video clip. You will be able to see. It mentioned that the mogra or the jasmine plant should not be kept in a plastic pot. I'm not very sure why was it mentioned because I tried to Google why exactly was that mentioned. Probably it's because of excess moisture. They do not like excess moisture. It seems that this plant should be kept in an earthen pot. So I was a little bit skeptical. So if any one of you know why this plant should not be put in a plastic pot, please do let me know. Maybe there is something that I'm missing out on. Now let's talk about watering. Ensure that whenever you see around 1 to 2 inches of the upper layer of soil is dry, go ahead and do a complete watering. During summers, the watering is going to be more. During winters, the frequency of watering is going to be less because during summers, it's their growing period. They tend to put out a lot of blooms and shoots. During winters, it tends to go into dormancy. So water according to your environment, especially during summers, you have to be extremely careful. Do not keep the soil dry for a longer period of time. Otherwise, it will damage the plant. Now talking about fertilizers, as I said, summer is their growing period. So you can go with any organic fertilizer. Liquid fertilizer tends to work out best because it tends to get absorbed into the soil and by the plant easily. You can even use solid fertilizers like compost, cow dung, or whichever organic fertilizers you have been using. Winters, please do not add any fertilizers. Reduce the watering because that's when the plant tends to go into dormancy. Now guys, light is the most important thing, especially if you are looking out for more blooms and flowers. Light plays a very important role. If you're going to keep this plant in shade or in indirect bright light, then the rate of blooms is going to be very, very less. What I do is I give morning direct sunlight for 5 to 6 hours. So it gets sunlight until 11:30. I do not keep it in afternoon direct sunlight because over here the afternoon direct sunlight is very harsh and it can easily burn the plant. So you can see with morning direct sunlight for 5 to 6 hours, the plant is getting a lot of blooms. A lot of new blooms are also starting to come up. So if you want a lot of blooms, then you'll have to offer a good amount of morning direct sunlight for 5 to 6 hours. Now, if you want the plant to grow very bushy or if you want a lot of new shoots, new blooms, then the best thing what you can do is you can prune the plant. Now, I had done it around December end. I had done some cutting, as you can see over here. So when you tend to prune the plant, when you tend to cut the stem, the next or the lower portion will start to generate more stems. In this way, the plant starts to get very bushy. You can see, I'm not very sure if it's going to be visible, but you can see these are the 2 stems that is just below where I had done the stem cutting. So in this way, you can keep pruning the plant and it will start encouraging or promoting new growth and the plant will become even more bushy. Now, I do not want the plant to be very bushy. That's why I tend to do a very soft pruning. I just cut off 1 or 2 stems because I want this plant to grow more vertically rather than more horizontally. But again, it completely depends upon you. However you want the plant, you can prune it accordingly. Whenever you tend to prune it, it will start to put out a lot of new growth. So I am waiting for some more time. I hope that the plant is going to grow more vertically taller so that it can kind of cover up the entire pipe that is visible over here. But other than that, this plant is very, very easy. Now, yes, pest issues will happen, especially when there are blooms. This plant tends to get affected with aphids, so you can go with any organic solution that you have been using. As I said, the blooms tend to emit a beautiful fragrance, whether it's day, whether it's night. So a lot of insects, a lot of bees also get attracted towards it, and the smell is very, very divine, very sweet, whether it's day or whether it's night. Just like how our oxypetalum also tends to bloom at night, and it gives out a lot of beautiful fragrance the same way, but this blooms tend to stay throughout the day. It's not that it's going to the fragrance is going to stop by the night. It even tends to radiate fragrance at night as well, and it's a very sweet smell that tends to come up. So apart from that, temperature is not much of an issue. As I said, it's a warm growing plant, so during summers it's going to put out a lot of new growth. Propagation is pretty simple. You can grow it via seeds. You can even grow it via stems. Now, I am not very sure about the stem because I haven't tried it yet. But in future, if I'm going to do a stem propagation, I'll definitely keep you guys updated. Because whenever you tend to prune, you tend to cut the stem, you can always put that stem back into the soil and it might happen to root out. You have to be extremely careful. You have to put a plastic sheet over it in order for that humidity and moisture to stay inside the bag, and then it will definitely root. But I haven't tried it yet. Whenever I do that, I will definitely keep you guys updated. So overall, guys, it's a very easy to grow plant, and I kind of got distracted with my oxypetalum. I was making the video and I just happened to notice that this plant is starting to put out a lot of new growth. I'm so sorry I got distracted, but you can see this. These are the new growth point. Again, oxypetalum also tends to tends to get into its growing period during the summers, and by the monsoon season it starts to flower. So I'm very excited. I don't know why, but the shape of this leaf kind of resembles like the cobra snake, but looks absolutely beautiful. Excited for the new growth. So guys, if you are a beginner, if you want to add jasmine in your flowering collection, you can definitely do so. It's a very easy plant and tends to put out tons and tons of fragrance. So guys, that's all about it. I hope that this video was helpful to you. If it was, please hit the like button, and if you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing to it. Until then, take care, stay safe, and keep planting.